She made a scene at the cafe and scolded the wrong millionaire, and his mother wanted her as a daughter-in-law. Before we get into the story, let us know in the comments what city you're watching from. And when we're done, don't forget to rate the story from 0 to 10. Enjoy the story. Of course, it's him. Ridiculous red suit, slicked back hair, and a flower in the lapel, she muttered to herself, hiding behind the window of the fancy cafe on Park Avenue. On the other side of the glass, seated elegantly at the window table, was a man in a bright red suit and a blonde woman who was laughing far too loudly. Scarlett didn't need more proof. This was Mark, her best friend, Lisa's fiancé. And just as she suspected, he was cheating in broad daylight, no less, in the same cafe where he was supposed to have brunch with Lisa just a week earlier. Jerk. Low-life coward, she whispered, marching toward the entrance of the restaurant. Scarlett wasn't one to watch injustice in silence. If Lisa didn't have the courage to confront the cheater, Scarlett had 3 times that. And today was about justice. Or at the very least, one serious scene. She walked in with purpose, her heels echoing on the marble floor. A waiter tried to stop her, but she dodged him like a heat-seeking missile. There he was, red suit, slick hair, sitting at the table with an elegant gray-haired woman who carried herself like royalty. Scarlett stopped right in front of the table, took a deep breath, and shouted, "Mark, you rotten, shameless cucumber. You cheap traitor. No offense. All right. But with all due respect, you're elegant, refined, your hair shines like something out of a shampoo commercial, but don't you think you're a little too old for him? I mean, quite a bit, because my friend is young. Truly young. No Botox. And she doesn't look like a retired Chanel executive." The man blinked, confused. The woman choked on her tea. "Excuse me, who are you?" the man asked, clearly surprised. Scarlett didn't flinch. "Don't pretend you don't know me, Mark. I'm Scarlett, Lisa's friend. The one you swore to love, respect, and take to Paris, but you never did." The woman chuckled. "Scarlett? Is it?" she said with a refined accent and an amused expression. "My dear, you just yelled at the wrong man. And what a delightful mix-up. You've just gone up in my estimation." "Wait." Scarlett blinked. "What?" "This is my son, Grant Costa, and we don't know any Lisa. In fact, he's not engaged to anyone. He's single. Very much single, if I may say so." Scarlett's eyes widened. The color drained from her face. She looked again. The man in the red suit had green eyes, definitely not Mark's, and the nose narrower. The hair darker. Oh no. She slowly turned her head to another table 2 rows back, where the real Mark, also in a red suit, was laughing with a blonde woman. And when he saw her, he slipped away. Quietly. She had made a scene at the wrong table. "Oh," she said, her voice now barely a whisper. "Well, that's kind of embarrassing." "Kind of?" Grant muttered, trying to hide a smile. But before Scarlett could run out the door or disappear into the floor, the older woman stood up with a gleam in her eyes. "What's your full name, dear?" "Scarlett Miller." She took Scarlett's hand firmly and announced loud enough for everyone to hear. "Scarlett Miller. A star's name. A storm of a personality. You're perfect." "Perfect for what?" Scarlett asked, still in full panic mode. "To set my son straight." "What?" "That's right. I'm Elena Costa, mother of the rotten cucumber. I mean, Grant. And my dear, if anyone on this earth can straighten this boy out, it's you." Grant coughed. "Mom, please." "No, Grant. I mean it. You surround yourself with fake socialites and yes men in suits. And today, for the first time in years, someone told you the plain truth. I loved it." Scarlett blinked 3 times. "Is this really happening?" "Yes." "And tell me, are you single?" "Yes, but what?" "Perfect," Elena said, clapping her hands. "Scarlett Miller, you're going to marry my son." The entire cafe choked. Grant choked. Scarlett choked so hard she coughed. "Is this some kind of prank?" she asked, looking around, expecting to see a Hidden camera crew. Not at all. I'm completely serious. You are exactly the kind of woman my son needs. Spontaneous, honest, hilarious, and bold enough to yell in a crowded cafe. You're practically a modern miracle. Grant, now, as red as his suit, tried to protest. Mom, this is insane. You don't even know her. We know enough. Grant, if you don't marry her, I'll disown you. And Scarlett, if you don't accept, I'll sue you for defamation and perjury for calling my son a rotten cucumber in front of 36 witnesses. What? That's insane. Maybe. But this is my family. Welcome, dear. Fine, I accept, Scarlett said, resigned. Still not quite believing what was happening. Elena Costa clapped her hands enthusiastically while Grant rubbed his face, clearly questioning his life choices. The cafe was still completely silent, with every customer watching the scene as if it were a live soap opera episode. Excellent, Elena exclaimed. Tomorrow at 2 o'clock in the afternoon at the Madison Avenue Registry Office. Nothing fancy, just the necessary. Having one decent girlfriend. Scarlett's going to be the best thing that's ever happened to you. You'll see. Scarlett still wasn't sure. The cold wind hit her face, bringing her back to reality. She had just agreed to marry a complete stranger. 20 minutes later, she was at the door of the apartment she shared with Lisa. Her friend was on the couch watching Netflix and eating popcorn. Lisa, you won't believe what happened, Scarlett said, tossing her purse on the floor. Let me guess, you got yourself into some kind of trouble. Lisa paused the show, turning to her with interest. Worse. Much worse. I made a scene, but with the wrong man. What do you mean? Scarlett flopped onto the couch next to her friend and told the whole story, from when she saw Mark with another woman to the cafe incident and finally Elena Costa's crazy proposal. With every detail, Lisa's eyes grew wider. Wait. Lisa grabbed her friend's hand. You're telling me that Mark, that shameless guy, was cheating on me and agreed to marry him? She threatened to sue me and he was going to lose his job. What was I supposed to do? Lisa stayed silent for a few seconds, processing it all. Then she started laughing. First quietly, then louder and louder until she was laughing uncontrollably. Lisa, this isn't funny. No, sorry, she said, wiping tears from her eyes. It's just only you, Scarlett. Only you could turn revenge on a cheater into an arranged marriage. Thanks for the moral support, Scarlett muttered. But look at the bright side. At least you won't have to share an apartment with me anymore. And from what you said, he's good looking, right? Lisa, relax. I'm kidding. But seriously, you said it's temporary, so don't stress. Sign the papers, live together for a while, and then you two get divorced. Simple. Lisa grabbed her phone and dialed a number. What are you doing calling that? Jerk Mark? If I'm going to be maid of honor at a whirlwind wedding, I might as well get rid of my own problem first. The call connected and Lisa put it on speaker. Hi, honey. Mark's voice came from the other end. Mark, we need to talk, Lisa said firmly. What's up? I'm breaking up with you. What? You heard me. I'm ending our relationship right now over the phone. Lisa, you're crazy. We were doing fine. Were we? Because you were at the Park Avenue Cafe with some blonde. Care to explain? How did you find out? Does it matter how? What matters is you're a cheater. Goodbye, Mark. Lisa hung up and turned to Scarlett with a satisfied smile. There. Now I can fully focus on your marriage drama. The next day, Scarlett stood in front of the Madison Avenue Registry Office, wearing the only decent dress she owned, a simple navy blue one she used for job interviews. Lisa stood beside her, serving as witness and moral support. I still can't believe you're really doing this, Lisa murmured. Neither can I, Scarlett replied, nervously adjusting her hair. Grant arrived right at 2 o'clock, accompanied by a middle-aged man who introduced himself as James, his personal lawyer. He wore a perfect gray suit and had an expression somewhere between resignation and disbelief. Well, let's get this over with, he said, shaking Scarlett's hand formally. Where's the romance? Lisa muttered. earning a sharp glare from Scarlett. The ceremony lasted exactly 15 minutes. They signed papers, exchanged a few required words with the officer, and that was it. They were officially married. They didn't even exchange rings. "Congratulations," James said as he put the papers away. "You're now legally husband and wife." "How exciting," Grant said sarcastically. 2 hours later, Scarlett was standing at the door of an apartment in Carnegie Hill, holding her 2 suitcases and questioning every decision that had brought her there. "Welcome to your new temporary home," Grant said, opening the door. The apartment was stunning. High ceilings, huge windows with a view of Central Park, modern and expensive decor. It was 3 times the size of the place she shared with Lisa. "Wow," she murmured as she slowly stepped inside. "The guest. Feel free to decorate it however you like." "Guest room. You didn't think we'd be sharing a bedroom, did you? This is a marriage of convenience, not a honeymoon, right?" "Of course." In the following days, an odd routine began between them. Grant left early for work, came home late, and they barely saw each other. But when they did, it was always a comedy of small misunderstandings. On the first morning, Scarlett woke up early and decided to make breakfast. She found the most high-tech kitchen she had ever seen with appliances that looked like they belonged in a spaceship. She tried to make pancakes and almost set the apartment on fire when she couldn't figure out how to turn off the fancy stove. Grant came running down in his pajamas, thinking it was a real fire. "What are you doing?" he shouted, turning off the fire alarm. "Trying to make breakfast." "How was I supposed to know the stove has more buttons than an airplane? That's a $15,000 professional stove." $15,000 for a stove? You could have bought a car. "I have 3 cars." Of course you do." On the second day, Scarlett decided to rearrange the living room because, according to her, it had no life. Grant came home from work and found all the furniture in different spots. "You moved everything around," he said, standing at the door. "I made it better. Now there's more energy, more movement. Before it looked like a home decor magazine, no soul. I liked it the way it was." "Grant, you had the books organized by color." "By color? Who does that? Organize people. People with no imagination. Look, now they're sorted by topic. Much more useful." Grant looked at the messy shelves inside. "You're going to drive me crazy." "Probably," she said, smiling. "But at least you won't die of rearranged by type and color." "Seriously?" she yelled from the bedroom. "You organized my clothes." "Thought you'd like it," he replied from the living room, trying not to laugh. "Grant, I had a system. Work clothes were separate from weekend clothes, which were separate from gym clothes. Now they're organized logically." "Logically for who? A robot?" But every time Grant tried to get under her skin, Scarlett responded with good humor and creativity. When he hit the TV remote, she figured out she could control everything from her phone. When he swapped the sugar with salt, she made salty lemonade and ate. Said it was a new Southern recipe. Meanwhile, Elena Costa was busy with her own plans. In her elegant Manhattan office, she was signing important documents. "Are you sure about this, Mrs. Costa?" her lawyer Richard asked. "Absolutely. I want 20% of Costa Tech shares transferred to Scarlett Miller Costa today." "She doesn't even know your son is the president of the company, does she?" "She'll find out at the right time. And when she does, I want her to have real power to support him or to keep him in check if needed." "You're playing a dangerous game." Elena smiled mysteriously. "Dear Richard, I don't play games. I orchestrate destinies." The papers were signed, stamped, and filed. Scarlett Miller Costa now owned a sizable share of one of New York's biggest tech companies without having any idea her life was about to change completely. Back at the apartment, Scarlett and Grant were in the kitchen trying to decide what to order for dinner. "Pizza," Scarlett said. "Sushi," Grant said at the same time. They looked at each other, and for the first time since the wedding, they laughed together. "Pizza with sushi for dessert," she suggested. "You're insane," he said. But he was smiling. "And you're starting To like it, she replied. And Grant didn't know what to say because maybe, just maybe, she was right. The following Monday, Scarlett returned to work at the Meridian Hotel with a strange sense of normalcy, organizing corporate events and making sure everything ran smoothly in the hospitality department. What she didn't expect was to find a familiar figure standing at the main reception desk, wearing a flawless black suit and, abruptly in the hallway, Malfada Winters, her college classmate, a declared rival since day one, and now apparently her new boss, the woman who had always competed with her over everything: grades, internships, boyfriends, even lipstick color. Scarlett Miller, Malfada exclaimed, walking toward her with careful steps. What a wonderful surprise to find you here. Still working as an event coordinator, I assume. Hello, Malfada, Scarlett replied. General manager of this hotel 2 weeks ago, which means she paused dramatically. I'm now your boss. Malfada's smile was full of satisfaction. Scarlett felt a knot in her stomach, but didn't show it. Congratulations on the promotion, she said politely. Thank you. And speaking of changes, I've heard some interesting rumors about you. Word is you got married recently. What was his name again? Grant something. Scarlett frowned. Personal life won't interfere with your professional performance. We have very high standards here. Before Scarlett could answer, a familiar male voice spoke behind her. Malfada, I don't believe it. Scarlett turned around and saw Mark, Lisa's ex-boyfriend, walking over with a broad smile. He was wearing a navy blue suit and carrying a leather briefcase. Mark. Malfada opened her arms dramatically. What a wonderful coincidence. What are you doing here? He asked, hugging her. I'm the NE general manager. And you? I was just hired as the hotel's financial consultant. I'll be handling all the audits and cost-benefit analyses. Scarlett watched the exchange and felt something was off. The coincidence was just too big. Scarlett, Mark said, finally noticing her. What a surprise to see you working here. Mark, she replied coolly. Oh, you two know each other? Malfada asked with fake innocence. Mark was dating my best friend until last week, Scarlett explained. Oh, Malfada feigned surprise. How delicate. Well, I hope this doesn't make the workplace uncomfortable. Over the following weeks, it became clear that Malfada and Mark had teamed up with one goal: to make Scarlett's life miserable at the hotel. It started with small things. Malfada would change Scarlett's shifts at the last minute, assign her to events that were impossible to organize alone, and constantly question her decisions in front of other employees. Scarlett, about Thursday's event, Malfa said during the morning meeting. Why did you choose red roses for the decor? Don't you think that's a bit ordinary? The red roses were a specific request from the client. Scarlett replied calmly. HM. NU 17:41. Didn't try to suggest something more refined, more elegant. That's what we expect from our coordinators. Creativity, not just following instructions. Mark, present at the meeting as a consultant, added. Speaking of costs, Scarlett, the Friday events budget went 12% over. How do you explain that? The client requested last-minute changes to the menu. Everything was documented and approved by the previous management. Previous management? Malfada repeated. Well, now we have new standards. Let's not let this happen again. The sabotage campaign escalated. Malfada began giving Scarlett incorrect information about event times and specifications. Mark would discover financial issues and projects Scarlett was managing, always in front of others. During a major corporate event, they pulled off the most humiliating stunt yet. Malfada told Scarlett that the event would start at 7 p.m. when in fact it was scheduled for 6. When Scarlett arrived an hour late, she found angry clients and chaos everywhere. Scarlett, Malfa shouted theatrically in front of everyone. Where were you? The event started an hour ago. You told me it was at 7, Scarlett said, confused. 6 o'clock, dear. It's always been 6 o'clock. It's been on the schedule since the beginning. Mark appeared holding a tablet. I can confirm. That? Here's the original schedule. It's always been 6. Scarlett looked at the document and saw that it did in fact say 6 o'clock. She was sure Malfada had said 7, but she had no way to prove it. This is unacceptable. Malfada went on, raising her voice so everyone could hear. Our clients can't be affected by professional negligence. I wasn't negligent, Scarlett protested. There was a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding? Mark shook his head. Scarlett, this is irresponsibility. How can you coordinate events if you can't even show up on time? The clients whispered among themselves, clearly unhappy. Scarlett felt her face burn with humiliation and anger. She knew it had been a setup, but she couldn't prove it. We'll settle this later, she said, trying to keep her dignity. Right now, I need to make sure the event runs perfectly. And it did. Even arriving late, Scarlett managed to organize everything down to the smallest detail. The event was a complete success, but the damage to her reputation was already done. The next day, Malfada called her into her office. Scarlett, we need to talk about your performance. My performance has been excellent given the circumstances. Circumstances? Malfada pretended not to understand. Dear, you showed up an hour late to an important corporate event. That's unforgivable. You told me it was at 7 o'clock. Are you suggesting I lied? Malfada stood up, outraged. That's a very serious accusation. Mark walked into the office at that moment as if the timing had been rehearsed. Sorry to interrupt, but I just got a formal complaint from yesterday's clients. They're considering canceling future events at the hotel. See, Malfada said. Your actions have consequences, Scarlett. I'm considering firing you. You can't fire me over a misunderstanding. We can and we will, Mark replied. Unless you have some influence we don't know about. At that exact moment, the office door opened and Elena Costa walked in like an elegant hurricane, wearing a pink Chanel suit and carrying a purse that probably cost more than Scarlett's yearly salary. Excuse me, she said with that refined accent Scarlett knew so well. I'm looking for my daughter-in-law, Scarlett Costa. The office fell completely silent. Malfa and Mark froze. Mrs. Costa, Scarlett said. Surprised. What are you doing here? I came to see how you're adjusting to work, dear. And, from what I heard in the hallway, not very well. Elena turned to Malfada with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. You must be the manager. I'm Elena Costa, chairwoman of the Costa Group, owner of this hotel. Malfada turned. Scarlett's best friend's ex-boyfriend. What an interesting coincidence that you work here now. Mark swallowed hard. Ma'am, I quiet. Elena raised her hand. Scarlett, dear, do you like working here? I do, Mrs. Costa, but it's been challenging. I can imagine. Well, I have a solution. Elena pulled a folder from her purse. I just signed your promotion to Vice President of Hotel Operations. Elena repeated calmly. That means Scarlett is now your superior, Malfada. And Mark, your services as a consultant are no longer needed. You're fired. That's impossible. Malfada protested. 0. She doesn't have the qualifications to be vice president. She does now. Elena smiled. And if you have a problem with that, you can hand in your resignation letter as well. Mark made one last attempt. Ma'am, with all due respect. But this looks like nepotism. Elena stared at him with icy calm. Young man. My family built this empire when you were still in diapers. Don't tell me how to run my business. She turned to Scarlett. Dear, your new office is on the 12th floor. I think you'll have a lot of work reorganizing things around here. Malfada was white as a sheet. Mrs. Costa, I apologize if there was any misunderstanding. There was no misunderstanding, Elena said. There was an attempt to sabotage my daughter-in-law. You have 1 week to prove you deserve to keep working under Scarlett's supervision. Elena kissed Scarlett on the cheek and whispered, Welcome to leadership, dear. Use it wisely. After Elena left, Scarlett looked at Malfa and Mark, who were still in shock. Well, she said calmly, I think we have a lot of work ahead of us. Mata, I need a full report on all hotel operations on my desk by 9 a.m. Tomorrow, and Mark, you can start packing your things. Mark left the office in silence, defeated. Malfada stood there, still trying to process what had just happened. How? She murmured. How did you, Malfa? Scarlet said, sitting in the chair that just minutes ago belonged to her rival. You've always underestimated people. That's always been your weakness. As Malfada walked out of the office, humiliated, Scarlet looked out the window and smiled. She still didn't fully understand everything that was happening in her life. But one thing was certain. Elena Costa was a mother-in-law who knew how to take care of her family. And it looked like Scarlet was starting to realize she had more influence than she ever imagined. 3 weeks after her sudden promotion to vice president, Scarlet was starting to adjust to her new reality. Her office on the 12th floor had a view of Central Park, a mahogany desk that cost more than a car, and a highly efficient assistant named Patricia, who managed her schedule with military precision. Malfada, now working under her, had become the picture of forced professionalism. She arrived early, stayed late, and treated Scarlet with a cold politeness that bordered on comical. According to rumors, Mark had disappeared from New York entirely, supposedly taking a job in Chicago. That too. Thursday, the Meridian Hotel was hosting the most important event of the quarter, the Hamilton Foundation Charity Gala, which would bring together Manhattan's elite to raise funds for children's hospitals. Scarlet was personally overseeing every detail, from the white orchid arrangements to the 5-course menu, created by the most sought-after French chef in town. Around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, while supervising the setup in the main ballroom, Scarlet heard raised voices coming from the service hallway. She immediately recognized one of them. Sofia Ramirez, one of the hotel's most dedicated waitresses, always working with a genuine smile and a sharp eye for detail. That's not true, Sofia said, her voice shaking. I would never do something like that. The evidence is clear, replied a harsh male voice that Scarlet recognized as Robert Chen, the food and beverage supervisor. 2 bottles of Dom Perignon champagne are missing from the stockroom, and you were the last one to access it last night. Scarlet walked closer quietly and saw Sofia with red eyes holding a tissue in interest. Mr. Chin, Sofia said in a broken voice. I swear on my children's 32. Change facts, Robert said coldly. The inventory was complete when you left, and this morning we discovered the bottles were gone. You're the only logical explanation. But that makes no sense, Sofia protested. Why would I steal expensive champagne? I don't even drink. Malfada stepped in with a fake, concerned smile. Sofia, dear, I know your financial situation has been tough. 2 small kids, late rent. Maybe thought selling the bottles could help fix a few problems. How do you know about my financial situation? Sofia asked, surprised. I'm the manager, Sofia. It's my job to know my staff. Scarlet felt her blood boil. She had known Sofia for 2 years and knew she was as honest as they came. She worked 2 jobs to raise her kids on her own after her husband left, and she had never missed a shift or arrived late. Excuse me, Scarlet said, stepping in. What's going on here? Vice President Costa, Robert said, quickly changing his tone to one of respect. We're dealing with a theft. Sofia Ramirez stole 2 bottles of Dom Perignon from our stock. That's a very serious accusation, Scarlet said calmly. Do you have solid proof? Malfada stepped forward. The circumstantial evidence is clear. Sofia was the last one in the stock room and the bottles disappeared during the night. Circumstantial evidence? Scarlet repeated. Robert, show me exactly where these bottles were stored. They walked to the climate-controlled stock room in the basement. Robert pointed to a shelf in the special wine section. Right there. 3rd shelf. We had 12 bottles for tonight's event. Now we have 10. Scarlet examined the area carefully. Sofia, tell me exactly what you did here last night. I came to get the crystal glasses for today's event, said Sofia, still trembling. 28:2 they re-kept in that cabinet over there. I took 6 boxes, checked to make sure everything was in order, locked the storage room, and left. What time was that? 10:30 at night. The night shift didn't start until 11 o'clock. Scarlett looked around at the storage layout. Something didn't add up. Robert, who has access to the storage room besides authorized staff? Only management and supervisors and the cleaning crew, of course. Cleaning crew? Scarlett raised an eyebrow. What hours do they work? From 11 at night to 6 o'clock in the morning. And did you check with 29:04? Them? Robert hesitated. Well, we didn't think that it was necessary. All the evidence clearly points to Sophia. What evidence? Scarlett asked, crossing her arms. So far, all I've heard are assumptions. Malfada stepped in. Scarlett, I know you want to protect the staff, but we can't. Ignore the facts. What facts, Malfada? Scarlett turned to her with a cold stare. Give me one solid fact that proves Sophia took anything. She was the last authorized person in the storage room before the theft was discovered. So what? That doesn't prove anything. Robert, bring me a full list of everyone who entered the storage room in the last 48 hours. Vice President, I don't think I'm not asking for your opinion. I'm giving you an order. 20 minutes later, Robert returned with a printed report. Scarlett examined it carefully while Sophia waited anxiously, and Malfada tapped her fingers impatiently. Interesting, Scarlett murmured. Sophia went in at 10:30 last night and left at. But look here. James Mitchell from the cleaning crew entered at, and there's no record of him leaving. Must be a system error, Robert said quickly.